Hey YouTube, Sean from Top 5 Fit again. Now in our last video we went over some resisted running drills that you could do outside with a partner and various directions and planes that you could work in to bring about different results. Well, sometimes you don't have a partner and you'd like to be able to recreate some of those same drills. Well, what we're going to take a look at today are those drills in more of a stationary, fixated point type scenario where we don't need somebody behind us to accomplish the same thing. For today, we're going to go ahead and use the number 3 bands. These are about 50 pounds of resistance per band, giving us a grand total of about 100 pounds of resistance once they're at tension. So remember your slip knot, and you just want to loop the bands together so that 2 of them ultimately give you enough distance that you can actually move. Now at this point, the band is just going to go around your waist. And I like to set it right about belt line. So pretty much maybe a little bit lower where you would actually wear your belt on your pants. Now, the same rules apply obviously when moving forward, moving backwards. You're going to be a little bit up onto your toes because the band is pulling you backwards, and you kind of want to maintain that slightly forward position. Now in the beginning, especially if you're not used to this, start off with just basic walking so that you get the heel to toe push off as you're moving through the drill. And it's very important to make sure you're actually striking with that heel, and then as you walk forward, you push and follow through with the toe. That's good running form. That's ultimately form that's going to help you when it's come time to actually speed up and start worrying about a much faster pace. You want to make sure you're getting that toe follow through. So again, start with the walk, and you're emphasizing pushing off with the toe every step. Now on the way back, all we're doing is reversing that gait, obviously. So make contact with the toe, roll through the foot, and then you'll actually pick up the heel at the end. And that's just to make sure that you're controlling those backward forces and you don't get pulled off of your feet. Once you have foot placement and a good understanding of how the band's actually going to pull you, you can advance that walk to a run. Same rules, make sure you're actually following through and pushing off of the toe and then absorbing those forces on the way back. So as I go forward, I'm going to emphasize pushing off of the toe, and as I come backwards, I'm going to roll through that toe and back to the heel. Couple of things you want to pay attention to when you're working this drill. Make sure that the band placement, again, is right over belt line. You're going to get some forces pulling on the hips, and the tendency is going to be to stick the butt out. I see a lot of people doing this drill and their torso is down here, their hips are behind them. You have no power when your hips are not up underneath your chest and your head. So even though you're slightly leaned forward, you want to make sure and still maintain good posture and stay upright instead of letting your hips get sucked out. So the chest is still up. Don't let those hips get pulled behind you. Next, we're going to take a look at lateral shuffles, lateral movements. Now again, you want to make sure that you understand exactly how hard the band's going to be pulling back on you. Placement is still the same, right about belt line. Start off with a walk, and all we're doing is a gentle side step, still pushing off very hard on the inside leg, and then absorbing that band's resistance as we come back to the starting position. It's very similar to almost climbing the stairs going sideways. You're going to put a lot of pressure on the outside leg and then extend and then push off of that inside leg so that you can actually take the next step. And again, we're just reversing that on the way back. As you move farther away from the point of attachment of the band, it's a good idea to drop your hips just a little bit. If you're up too tall, the tendency again will be to allow your hips to get sucked from underneath you. So it's okay to bring the hips down just a little bit for balance sake. So you can maintain control of the drill. Now that we're comfortable with the walk and we know exactly how the band's going to be pulling on us, we'll go ahead and pick it up with a little bit of a quicker pace. Again, dropping the hips, giving a little bit more of a hop and more explosion out of that push off of the inside leg. The third variation of the lateral drill is adding a touch of agility work to it. Now if you notice, I leave my battle ropes pretty much straight out on the floor the entire time we're in here because I'll actually use them as something to kind of work foot speed over. So I'll take the band and move it more towards the center right over top of the ropes. And we're just going to do a quick over and back. But now we've got the band actually pulling on us while it's happening. And then we reverse. Okay. A couple of things to pay attention to. If you're going to use the ropes to do any kind of agility work, please remember that they do roll. All right, that's one of the reasons why ladders exist. I kind of like using the ropes because ultimately it teaches people to get their feet up a little bit higher. Sometimes you can cheat and just kind of slide the feet across the ladders. That doesn't exactly recruit the hips the way I would like them to be recruited. So here you get a little bit more raise off of the ground with the ropes, and it will roll if you make contact with it. So try to make sure that you're at least getting those legs up and those feet up high enough so that you're not making too much contact with the ropes. And let's get into the final drill today, backwards. Now again, like we'd said in the previous video, this helps recreate downhill forces on your knees, feet, and ankles. So the idea is, move this back over. So the idea is start with your walk, drop the hips just a little bit, and as far as the feet are concerned, we're rolling from heel to toe just as we were when we were going forwards. Try to maintain about shoulders width between the feet. You don't want to get too wide. Not that that's an inappropriate drill, but when you're walking, it's a little easier to maintain your balance if your feet are right up underneath you. Final variation on the backwards walking, obviously we're going to go ahead and take it up to a run now. So again, the band sits right around belt line, drop the hips just a little bit, and we're going to roll through the toes, back to the heels, only at a much quicker pace. Now if you notice, I'm trying to spend as little time at the stopping points as possible. So here, changing that direction is what's ultimately going to help you develop your power. So when you're doing this drill, try to make sure that you're not hanging out at the back end or hanging out at the front end for too long. It's about being able to turn over and move back and forth as quickly as possible. Okay guys, that about wraps up the running station video. Now we covered forwards walking, forwards running, lateral shuffle, walk, a run, and then an agility drill at the end, as well as a backwards walk and a backwards run. These drills should ultimately help at least boost your confidence and endurance levels while you're out on the long run, and if you're focusing more on the short explosive, you're definitely going to see a much better turnover after these. So thanks again for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the box below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again.
Do an outro.
Hold on. These drills are...
Stop. You said backwards running, and then you already covered backwards and forwards already at the beginning. Walking. You have to say backwards walking.
Backwards walking. I said forwards walking, didn't I? Jesus. All right. All right.
Try this again.
Forwards, lateral. Okay.